Okay. Well, hello, everybody. Thank you so much for coming. I thought a little bit of humor. Well, that actually is what's happening to us in slow motion. It's just that we don't think about it too much. I'm Maria Entraigues. I work for SENS Research Foundation. We are a nonprofit organization in Mountain View, California. You probably heard of us. The foundation, well, first I'm going to say this. I'm a singer, songwriter, I'm a pilot, and I work for SENS. I like promoting science and technology. And I started helping Aubrey de Grey. Do you know Aubrey? Just raise your hands. Yeah, you've seen him before? Okay, yeah. So I met Aubrey many years ago, and I contacted him, started volunteering for him. All my life, I thought about aging a lot. Since I was a little girl growing up in Argentina, I don't know why I was obsessed with it. I would look at people who are old and feel bad and feel that there was something that we should do about it. So when I moved to the US, I realized that Aubrey existed and that we thought of the same things, and I just contacted him and started helping him as a volunteer. So Aubrey de Grey, he spent a lot of years studying what really aging is. No one ever did that before. We always, think of aging as this natural thing that has to happen, and yeah, we're getting old, and we're gonna get old, and we're gonna die, and we really didn't get into it. Like, what really is aging? What actually happens in our bodies? Why do we age? So this is what Aubrey did, and he explains aging in 7 different types of damage that happen because of our metabolism. So really, he says these are side effects of us being alive. So SENS Research Foundation now is a fully blown organization, founded in 2009. We do intramural research, we do extramural research. So we have our own scientists in our own labs, and we also fund research at other organizations and universities like Buck Institute, Cambridge, Stanford, Harvard, Rice University, Wake Forest, and the list goes on and on. So our work really is about health. And it's about this instead of this. And unfortunately, the latter is what we have right now. And if we don't do anything about it, this is what we're gonna keep having for a long time. Even though I know eventually we're gonna fix this problem, but we can fix it faster if we change our mindset and we really help the mission. So, what causes most of deaths every day worldwide? Any guesses? Yeah, it was kind of obvious, right? Okay. Anyway, yeah, age-related disease. So all the diseases that we get, that we will get, if we live long enough, like Alzheimer's, cancers, cardiovascular disease, Parkinson's, if we keep living the way we're living now and the way medicine is right now, we will get at least one of these diseases, if not several of them, and eventually we're gonna die of them. So who dies of aging? Well, about 150,000 people die a day in the world, and two-thirds, die of aging, which is 100,000 people a day. So 100,000 deaths every day, which is 90% of all deaths in the industrialized world. That's what aging does. But we not only die of aging, we suffer a lot. We suffer a lot sometimes for a long time, and everybody around us suffer a lot, our families, loved ones, and we become a huge burden to society and to economy and the healthcare system. In the US, people spend more money on health in the last year of their life than in their whole life. You know how much the US spends on this? Would you believe me if I said 40,000 a day, an hour, a minute, a second? $40,000 per second spent on aging, on treating people suffering from the diseases of aging, not on curing it. And so that means that since I started my talk, about $12 million have been spent on this. And the problem is that we're not saving these people. We're just spending this money, but these people are just getting worse and worse. They can get a little bit better for a little while, but eventually they will succumb to all these diseases. And sometimes, yes, we extend their suffering, and that's all we do. So we can do something about this. We have been really good at infectious diseases. We've gotten better and better. We have vaccines and antibiotics, but we haven't done anything about the diseases that have to do with degeneration, the degeneration of aging, the accumulation of damage, which is what aging is. Aging is accumulation of damage at a cellular and molecular level. So our body basically produces these waste products that just pile up in our cells, between our cells, and I'm going to explain a little bit about that, which is the 7 types of damage that Aubrey talks about. And this damage is, this accumulation of damage is okay for a while, but then it crosses a certain threshold and we start getting sick. So when we're 20, we're fine. We're already aging and we are accumulating damage, but we don't feel it. And when we're 40, we feel a little bit different. I wouldn't know though because I'm 29. Not really. But anyway, but when you are 60, you start feeling it more and more and so on, and then everything goes downhill. Today paradigm doesn't work. We have gerontology and geriatrics taking care of this, and all we're doing is ameliorating the condition of the elderly, but we're not fixing the problem. We extend the life, but our health is really poor, and who wants to live like that? So what we want to do really is we want to eradicate these diseases, and we have this roadmap to do it. And we will prevent them, we will cure them, and we will reverse them. So as I was saying, the types of intervention, gerontology and geriatrics. Gerontology basically postpones the processes and tries to slow down the processes, but not by fixing them really. And geriatrics looks more at the symptoms, keeping people comfortable, pain management and all that. And the metabolism is what is responsible for this damage that then creates the pathology. The metabolism is really complicated. And this is what we know about metabolism. I don't know if you can see it really well, but it doesn't matter. This is what we know, and this is very, very little. We know there's so much more that we don't know about the metabolism, and we know that there's a lot more that we don't even know about. So it's as complicated as the subway in Tokyo. So I had to put that in there because it looks so similar. It's fantastic. Anyway, so the types of intervention we have is gerontology, and they're looking at the metabolism, and that's going to take a long, long, long time for us to really understand how it works and do something about it. We are looking at a different approach, which is a damage repair approach. It's a maintenance approach, more of an engineering approach. Actually, SENS means strategies engineered for negligible senescence. I know it's better remember SENS. Sounds much simpler. But we thought of why not go and fix the damage instead of trying to modify the metabolism. Just take care of the damage, just like we do with any machines. You got it. I have a car. I have to maintain my car for it to keep going. It's been built to do something in particular, and I don't have to know how the car works, or I don't have to know how to build a car, but I have to know, that I need to add fluids and stuff. For example, this DC-3, one of my favorite planes. This is a brand new airplane built in the 1930s. Built to fly at a certain altitude, a certain speed, carry a certain amount of people. If you don't maintain it, it just ages and dies, right? But what about this? This is 80, 85 years after. It does the same thing that it was designed to do back then because we maintained it. And not only that, we optimized it. The propellers, are better designed now for fuel efficiency. The GPS, it has GPS that didn't have before. All the avionics are new. The tires have better material, stronger and lighter, et cetera, et cetera. So these are the types of damage that Aubrey talks about. Now, I'm not a scientist, and I'm not here to try to make you understand the science, and I'm not the right person anyway. So, but this is, some of the main diseases that I mentioned because are the famous killers, but the list goes on and on and on. These types of damage are responsible for everything that happens when we age, like macular degeneration, impotency, hearing loss, arthritis, osteoporosis. The list goes on and on. So cell loss, cells die, cell atrophy that is directly attached to Parkinson's and the aging of the immune system. The obsessive division of cells, and cells that start dividing, and they don't stop doing that, and cells that don't want to die is cancer. And then mitochondrial mutations. Mitochondria is the part of the cell that produces the energy, and it has its own DNA, and the DNA starts mutating. That's a big problem. And then intracellular junk has to do with cardiovascular disease. Extracellular junk, so it's waste products that accumulate inside of the cells and outside of the cells and get in the way, and then the function obviously starts to fail. Also tied to Alzheimer's, extracellular crosslinks, where our cells start to stick to each other, and that causes a stiffening of our arteries, and heart attacks, strokes, and wrinkles, and wrinkles, and wrinkles, and wrinkles. But anyway, if it was only wrinkles, right? But we get really sick as we age, and these wrinkles, everything's happening inside, and it's affecting our organs, and they start to fail, and then we succumb. So all these 7 processes are straight tied to aging. This is what we need to tackle. I don't know why I'm pointing there, because I know I don't have to abandon these slides. So the solution, we call it Rejuvenation Biotechnology. We are creating an industry, so we have to change our mindset. The way medicine is now doesn't work, so they have to look at this. And what we are doing is regenerative medicine applied specifically to this approach of repairing the damage that occurs in our bodies. Using a lot of these disciplines that you've heard of before, tissue engineering, stem cells, bio-nanotechnology, gene therapy, organ printing, all this stuff, we are going to use it applied to to tackle these 7 types of damage. This is one example. I know I don't have a lot of time, so I'm going to go quick. But this is one example that has to do with the junk in the cells, the intracellular junk that causes the heart attacks and the strokes. So our body has the inability to break down accumulated metabolic waste products. Small amounts are okay, as I was saying. When we're 20, we're fine. We don't know that this is happening. But when we get more of the damage, then crosses the threshold, we get sick. So 7-keto cholesterol builds up and creates plaque, and this plaque leads to heart attacks and strokes. We have an approach of introducing an enzyme that will go in like a Pac-Man, in the Pac-Man game, and eat the plaque. This is an enzyme that we took out of bacteria that processes dead bodies, that makes the decomposition of dead bodies. We realized that this bacteria could actually do this. What we're not doing inside of our bodies with this plaque, this bacteria can do it. So we took an enzyme out of it, and we modified it, and we're going to introduce it in our bodies so that it can go in and get rid of this waste. We have an animation here. See if you guess who did the voiceover for it.
We need cholesterol. All cells require it to function, and it's delivered to our cells via specialized particles in our blood. But sometimes these particles become trapped in the lining of our blood vessels. White blood cells, called macrophages, clear these stuck particles by absorbing them and processing them in compartments called lysosomes. Here, the particles are broken down into their constituent parts for reclamation or disposal. Once the enzymes have done their work, the reclaimed cholesterol is returned to the blood. The problem is, some cholesterol becomes oxidized during its travels. Oxidized cholesterol is poorly processed by the macrophages and eventually overwhelms them, preventing them from even processing the normal cholesterol they absorb. These sick, bloated cells are called foam cells, and they attract other macrophages. But the newcomers suffer the same fate. As foam cells accumulate, they form arterial plaques, which become inflamed and burst, spewing out blood clots that trigger heart attacks and strokes. But what if we gave the macrophages a new enzyme so they could process oxidized cholesterol too? Then they would process stuck particles without getting poisoned and bloated and return to healthy function. This would progressively cleanse arteries of plaque that had already formed.
It was Edward James Holmes, by the way. He's a big supporter of ours. Thank you, Eddie. Anyway, I have to finish. I think I have 0 minutes, but we have a type of intervention for each of these types of damage. You can go on our website. You have some literature on your chairs. Come to me, ask me questions. Technology, we couldn't do anything about aging before, but we can now. Things are changing really, really fast, as you know. Look at the stuff that happened only in a few years. So really science fiction and science are meeting. And remember, we can have this, or we can have this. It's our choice, and it's gonna happen eventually, but it can happen faster if we change our minds, our mindset, and start working. So help us. Thank you so much. Thank you.